Saturday morning, we're on the back porch office reading from Luke 22, verses 63 to 71, to the end of the chapter. Now the men who were holding Jesus in custody were mocking him as they beat him. They also blindfolded him and kept asking him, "Prophesy, who is it that struck you?" And they said many other things against him, blaspheming him. When the day came, the assembly of the elders of the people gathered together, both chief priests and scribes. And they led him away to their council, and they said, "If you are the Christ, tell us." But he said to them, "If I tell you, you will not believe, and if I ask you, you will not answer. But from now on, the Son of Man shall be seated at the right hand of the power of God." So they all said, "Are you the Son of God then?" And he said to them, "You say that I am." Then they said, "What further testimony do we need? We have heard it ourselves from his own lips." So this is the Jewish council, the ruling council in Jerusalem, and they are trying Jesus. Now, it's the middle of the night. You can't do that legally. It's, there are all kinds of things, procedural rules that they broke. But they want to kill him. They want to do away with him. And so they drag him to the council in the middle of the night. They wake a few guys up. "Come here." And they have this meeting. And he says, "If I tell you, you're not going to believe it. If I ask you to tell me, you're not going to." Yeah. So he says, "From now on, the Son of Man shall be seated at the right hand of the power of God." Now, Son of Man, we think of as a messianic title. In Jesus' time, though, it was a way to say I. It was a fancy way to refer to yourself. Ezekiel does it all the time. The Son of Man says this. The Son of Man does this. It's just a formal, fancy way to say me. And so when Jesus says the Son of Man will be seated at the right hand of God, it's really not, well, he's saying I will be seated at the right hand of God. And maybe that's cheeky to say that you will do anything at the right hand of God. But you see, that's the issue, not that he claims to be the Son of Man. That was a fairly common construction in the language. But he does say he'll be seated at the right hand of the power of God. And they're like, "What? You can't, no. You can't say that. You can't do that. Wrong." And so, what further testimony do we need? We've heard it from his own lips. We don't need anything else. That's enough. We can execute him. Except that they can't. They have to have Pilate's approval. So they drag him off to Pilate. But that's tomorrow or Monday's lesson. So the council kind of has I guess what we'd call a kangaroo trial, a kangaroo court. They wake up some people. They bring Jesus in. They make an accusation. He says something cryptic. They say, "See, he's guilty," and they're going to kill him. They haven't followed their procedures. They haven't followed their own rules, but they don't care because they're not about rules obeying. They're about getting rid of him. They want to get rid of him. To say you haven't obeyed your own rules, in our court system, of course, that would be appealed and thrown out on a technicality. Yeah, you didn't do it at the right hour of the day, and you didn't have the whole council there, so it's out. But they didn't. There wasn't anybody to appeal this to, and Jesus had no lawyers. There was no full legal representation, as we would say. They just ganged up on him and beat him half to death, and then said, "Hey, are you God or not?" And when he said he sort of was, they said, "Well, okay, we got him." So, do we ever do anything like that? Do we ever convict anybody without evidence? Well, not in a court of law, but in a court of our own opinion all the time. I think we do it. We decide someone has done something, and then we look for the evidence to prove our prejudice. Or we decide we don't like somebody, and then we look for reasons to back it up. So we have all these kinds of behaviors ourselves, and we need to look at that. It's Jesus' trial. He's headed for his death, and that's something also to ponder. We'll get more into this on Monday, and we'll see you then. Have a great Sunday.